Hi, my name is Rick Adams, and I'm the CEO of PracticalCSM.com, and I'm the author of Practical Customer Success Management, a best practice framework for the rapid generation of customer success. Now, my company, Practical CSM, is delighted to have been chosen by 111 to be their business partner for customer success, training, coaching, and consulting. And I'm joined today by Ben Winn, community and brand marketing leader at Catalyst, a market-leading customer success software platform provider. Ben is highly experienced in the customer success industry, and he was in fact awarded top 25 CS influencer status in 2021. So Ben, thanks very much for joining me today. And tell me, what's your relationship with 111? How do you know them, and how long have you been working with them?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. It's always great to see you. And I'm a big 111 fan. I started my career in 111 actually. So back, my very first tech job was in 2015. I started working at a company called StatFlow, and I started there as a customer success manager and had no idea what I was doing. But fortunately, we were based out of 111 in the original location on Richmond Street West. I'm originally from Toronto. Now I live in Brooklyn. And that was where I just first grew my network. So met tons of people in SaaS, played ping pong against a lot of CEOs of now major Toronto tech companies, and lost a lot of the time, but honed my ping pong skills, learned a ton about SaaS, met a lot of great people. And then after leaving StatFlow, I ended up hosting some events at 111, I think the following year, that were focused on customer success meetups. Obviously, I knew Amity, which was a customer success platform based out of 111 as well in Toronto. And they used to host some CS meetups there. So big fan of the Toronto tech community and 111's contribution to it, and I'm lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, great. And it sounds like, from everything you've said, but also from everything that everybody has told me, that there is a really good culture there, a sort of a spirit of everybody piling in and helping together, enjoying the journey, but also knuckling down and getting the work done. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's very much the vibe. It's everyone's there to work hard, but people also are really good about taking breaks. And what I love about it is you have a lot of spontaneous interactions that you otherwise wouldn't have if you were isolated in an office somewhere else. That was one of my favorite things, was that I would meet people lining up for coffee, meet people playing ping pong, we'd meet people in the lounge, like meet people all over the place, and then learn from them, and then be able to apply a lot of that back at
Right.
my company, or get hired by them. And it's a great ecosystem for that.
Right. The more you do, and the more people you know, and the more stuff you do with them, the more opportunities I think generally open up. I'm a great believer in that. So
Yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
before we move on, actually, you mentioned you're in Brooklyn now, so you're working for Catalyst, and obviously Catalyst is one of the top customer success software platform providers. So tell me a little bit about your role at Catalyst, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So I started my career in customer success, and then I built out a customer success community in Canada called CS and Focus. So there is an active Slack team. People are welcome to join. It's just csandfocus.com. I no longer run it. It's now run by Star Hoffer, who's the CCO, I believe, at PartnerStack, which is another great Toronto success story. So I started that community, expanded it across Canada. And then when I started expanding it into the States, I met the Catalyst founders. And so at this time I was, leading a CS team back in Toronto. I was consulting, and I was running a community, and I was exhausted all the time. So they were like, how about you combine your 3 jobs into 1 job and just build community for Catalyst? We have this amazing product, and we have no brand presence, and no one knows who we are. So that, and moved to New York, by the way, which was very appealing. This was 3 months before the pandemic.
Okay, well let's begin at the beginning. What in your opinion, what is customer success management, and what difference does having a customer success management team potentially make for a B2B tech business?
Life and death, pretty much, of your business.
Very
Of your
straightforward.
business. Yeah, I mean, it's simple on that front, right? We all know how much work it takes to sell a new customer. It's way less work to retain a customer and just keep raking in that revenue over time.
Yeah.
Customer success owns all customer retention, customer relationships, and ideally over time expands the scope of your contracts and relationships with your existing customers, which again, your profit margins are way better selling more to existing customers than landing net new customers.
Okay.
So, it's life and death in terms of the survival of your company, your valuation. Every VC looks at net revenue retention as the basically penultimate indicator of valuation.
Okay.
And that is basically made up of, are you retaining customers? And then are you expanding within your existing customer base, which are the two things that customer success owns.
Right. Yeah. So it's a little bit more of a sophisticated formula than just looking at the churn rate, the ratio, because it's taking into account the size of the deal as well as the ratio of deals that you renew. So I would agree with you that it is a better statistic in that sense. Gives you much more meaning. What we want to do is retain the good customers and increase our revenues with those good customers, because we're helping them more, of course, helps them as well. And in doing so, we help ourselves. So I would entirely agree with that. So it sounds to me like you're basically, what you're saying is look, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money potentially to win a brand new customer. You got to go out and make them aware of you. Then you've got to entice them into thinking that you might be a half decent company in the first place. Then you've got to take them through your portfolio and find out if there is a fit. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And maybe you're losing lots of your prospects along the way to find out of, 100 prospects, the gold nuggets of the ones that ultimately are a good fit. And they buy your product. Well, having got them, you want to keep them. And you want to maximize the amount of value that you then get out of them over the years. So sounds like basically what you're saying. Is that right?
Yeah, well put. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So, all right. How do they do that then? So, what are the core responsibilities? It sounds like a lot, right? I mean, you're saying there's quite a bit to it. What are the core responsibilities of a customer success manager? What do they actually do?
Yeah, I mean, you can list out. I mean, I could list off 50 things, but I won't because at the end of the day, CSMs are primarily responsible for retaining customers.
Okay.
Upselling and expanding customers through providing a lot of value. And there's some argument over this. My core belief is that CSMs should not be actually handling the mechanics of the sale. They should be providing the value, doing the discovery, and then working with an account manager or a salesperson who will take the lead on that, and then shared commission. That's a separate topic. So they have a role in upsell and expansion. They own customer retention. They own customer experience. And at the end of the day, their responsibility is keeping customers really happy and keeping customers in general for as long as possible. I would say at the high level, it's that. And then you can accomplish that through a wide variety of means. If you're a tech touch or a low touch company, meaning, you might be one CSM managing 1,000 accounts that are all small businesses, your set of responsibilities will look vastly different than if you're a high touch, maybe you're handling one account. I know we have customers at Catalyst that have 6 people on a CS pod managing one account. And so that's a very different way of doing business and CSMing. So, it's the core responsibilities are the same, but how that looks in terms of job description and day-to-day tasks will look very different depending on your industry, your company type, high touch, low touch, hybrid, etc. Do you think I missed anything?
Well, no, I would agree with all you've said, and I would say that how that happens is, as you say, it's going to vary in terms of the amount of what you do for any one customer. Because if you are looking after 1,000 customers, well, of course, you've only got 1,000th of your time for any one customer, compared to if you're looking after 10 customers, where you can spend an entire 10th of your time on that customer should you need to do so. So it's going to vary a lot. But effectively, I would say we take over at the post-contract stage, at the post-sales. Once the customer's made their decision, that's the product or service or solution that they're going to have. And our role in customer success is to help them get the maximum value out of that purchase in the minimum time, so that they are quickly getting value out of it and returning value, so that they perceive the value. It reduces the risk. The people who made the buying decision can see the returns coming in, and we help them to see that they're getting the value so that they can make a positive renewal decision to renew either at the same, or preferably, as you were mentioning, with our NRR at a higher level. Now, to do that means we've got to consult with the customer, understand what they're trying to achieve, and help them and guide them with our best practice advice. Well, how are you going to get those results? And because we know our products, and because we know how to train, communicate, support, enable end users, how to create high quality processes, how to document those processes, how to get people trained in them. That is the sort of the practical side to the customer success management, rolling our sleeves up, engaging with the customer, consulting with them, understanding their needs, and helping them to create a success plan for the product or the solution or the service that they've purchased from us. Would you go along with that? Something along those lines, at least?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can vary depending on the maturity of the organization as well. For example, at Catalyst, we have a separate roles under CS, but we have a separate onboarding and implementation team who manages, all that setup and then hands off to CSM, who's sort of involved in that, but mainly takes over after that. But we also have CSMs, while I agree that CSM owns everything post-sale, CS owns everything post-sale, we also, usually involve CS towards the end of the sales cycle as well, because it can be very helpful in closing a deal to have a CSM who's managed customer A come in and talk to potential customer B and say, hey, I'm the one who helped this customer achieve X, Y, and Z value. Here's how we'll set you up to do that. And they sort of lay out this roadmap to success before they've even signed a contract. Gets them excited. It's like a good proof point. So CS can touch a lot of different areas. At Catalyst, we say customer success should be at the center of every decision you make. Customer success should be at the center of your company, which means it should have a hand in every department. I think you hit on a lot of good things, especially around time to value, creating success plans. Absolutely core to the role.
Yeah, no, and likewise, Ben, I think you made some really good points there. The fact that the customer success management is principally involved post-sales doesn't mean they shouldn't be involved pre-sales. And, these days, there isn't any pre or post sales really. I mean, it's all one long relationship with the customer that we want to extend for as long as possible anyway. And so during that sales part of a particular engagement, a particular initiative that we're sort of supporting that the customer is up to, and we're saying, look, we can help you. Absolutely. That customer success manager, their experience of working, at the coalface with the customer, or with a different customer, bringing them in and saying, here's what the situation was with customer X. Here's what the challenge was on the ground. Here's how we resolved that challenge. And here's the fantastic value they're now getting. That is so powerful when it comes to a purchasing decision. That's what we want to hear as a purchaser who's, feeling, there's a risk involved here. I don't want to make the wrong purchasing decision. How can you reassure me that this is the right product or service for me? And I think a lot of that stuff is really juicy and helpful. So if you're in sales, customer success manager should be your best friend without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Okay. So should all tech companies build in customer success management right from day one? Or is it not quite as simple as that? And if it's not as simple as that, well, what should perhaps a tech startup who's wondering, should we, maybe they don't have customer success management right now. They're wondering, should we have it? And when should we have it? Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, customer success, while it's a function or a department, it's at its core a philosophy, and it's a job that is getting done whether you like it or not. Generally, from day one, it's the CEO doing it. The second you have a customer, you're doing customer success. Generally, it's the CEO right at the start who's managing the relationship, who's ensuring they renew, who's managing their contracts. Our CEO did that for the first entire year that Catalyst was in beta. He was personally managing all of that until he could hire someone dedicated to own that, and they had enough customers and product market fit enough to bring on someone to lead that. So I would say it's something that, like it or not, you are doing from day one. It just depends on, are you hiring someone? At what point do you hire someone dedicated for it? And that can vary depending on the company and the progress. But I would say that there will come a time where the cost of hiring a dedicated CS person will outweigh the cost of the CEO's time. Okay. Right. So a CEO has only so many things they can do in a day. They're doing all these important things, making all these important decisions. Right. So, everything is a trade-off of time. And, I think at the beginning, it's not worth it to spend whatever you need. Depends if you're hiring a junior CSM in Canada for $60,000 or $70,000 versus hiring a VP of CS to come in and charge $250,000. But at a certain point, it will no longer make sense for the CEO to be managing it because it'll just take too much of their time, and they could be spending their time in more valuable places. And that's the point that you hire someone dedicated to do it, at least in my view.
Yeah, no, I would go along with that. And in principle, I would go further and say, well, that's, it's the same for when you bring in your first salesperson, for the same reason. The CEO can't be doing all the selling now. And similarly, then as that salesperson gets more and more busy, so they can't be doing the account management. You want them chasing after that new, juicy, exciting new deal. That's what they're good at. That's what you're paying them for. That's what they get their commission for. And so you want some other people who have different skills, who are effectively following up, who are much more perhaps consultative, better at data analysis, better at developing longer term business relationships and understanding the business challenges of a customer and working with them to achieve their end goals, and reporting on a quarterly basis and so on. So it's a different set of perhaps skills that you then need to bring in. But you're right, you do need customers. So I think I would go along with what you said, which in effect is building the philosophy of customer success right from day zero. That's, we are here to help our customers achieve value right from when we're first thinking about, well, what product shall we make, and how are we going to market it, and how are we going to price it, and every aspect of that, what we do should be customer success oriented, but not necessarily bringing in customer success management until we've got enough revenues coming in to support that role and the need, because we're shuffling others into more and more specific roles based upon the company scaling up. So I think that's good advice. And also I'd say, we're likely to need to bring customer success managers in more early, where we have a more sophisticated product and more sophisticated customers than perhaps if we've got a more simple product with more simple needs of the customer, who doesn't need so much customer success help. I mean, to take a ridiculous example, if we sold chewing gum, how much customer success management do our customers need to work out how to use our product? Probably, not a great deal, compared to if we've got a very complex software system that multiple departments use across multiple regions to make some critical business decisions in multinational corporations. That probably requires customer success management a bit earlier on.
I think, so there's one more caveat I'd add, which is if you're a product-led growth company, then you could probably wait a bit longer. Again, I think, and think about the philosophy, but if you've got a great tool, like if you were building out the next Notion, like Notion, like you said, like chewing gum, it's intuitive. You can figure it out very quickly. There's a free version. I'm not signing up and spending tons of money. It's a product like growth move. And the idea is you build a product that's good enough and sticky enough. I'm putting data into it. And then over time, I'm going to get more and more value. So product led growth, you can generally wait a little bit longer. It all depends. But the point there where I also wanted to add a note is just it's not just about the complexity, like do they need our help to get set up? It's also the opportunity cost. So maybe I don't need your help to learn how to use chewing gum, but if I did have a chewing gum coach, maybe that would lead me to consuming more gum or consuming other varieties of the gum. Absolutely. Or there's that opportunity for upsell and expansion to consider. How much money are you leaving on the table by not having a dedicated customer success person in place who's pushing for that time to value and expansion?
Very good points. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, well, look, aside from staff salaries, which I think is the obvious cost, what other resources or assets would you say a tech startup who's thinking about, okay, we need to start thinking about how we're going to provision a customer success department? What are the big bits that are going to be needed? What assets do they need? What resources do they need? And your company, sells a customer success platform. Is that a requirement from day one, for example? And what else might be needed?
Definitely not from day one. Do not recommend anyone get a customer success platform on day one. There's a phrase I love: nail it, then scale it. I think that's a little bit of I don't think you have to have it 100% nailed, but I think have it 80% nailed before you start buying software and plugging in, all your automation.
It's actually really difficult to know what you need until later on, isn't it? And I think you need to do it manually and go through that process, painful though it may be, of learning manually. And then once you really know what you want, you can then approach an organization like Catalyst with a very clear idea of what you want to achieve, which makes your job a lot easier,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, we want our customers to be successful. We're not going to sell to you if you're not mature enough, if you don't have the right tech stack in place. Like we're a CS company. That would be against our ethos. So I think there's a lot of CS tech you can add in that adds value, but I led a CS team out of Google Sheets and Pipedrive as a CRM. Do not recommend doing that. It was not fun. It was needlessly difficult. But it's possible and you can do it. It's just building out your health scores in Google Sheets. It's building out your CRM to track customer data. But things you absolutely need, I think, from day zero, a ticketing system. I mean, if you've grouped in customer support with customer success, which often happens at the start, and a good CRM, like get Salesforce as soon as you can. I know it's awful, but it's the foundation for every and HubSpot, I would say.
HubSpot is the two, but the alternative, the obvious alternative, isn't it? Yeah.
But get a good CRM and clean your data. Keep your data clean, because the biggest issue I see across the board with companies right now, especially when they're getting to that like Series A, Series B, it's data cleanliness that prohibits them from getting a lot of value out of their tech stack.
That's really interesting.
Once you get there,
that's a really good point. No, please carry on.
I was just gonna say, like, once you get there and you maybe you raise some funding, or your CS team is growing and they're spending 50% of their time just updating Google Sheets, and it's more admin work than being proactive. Then you look at adding a customer success platform like Catalyst, or you look at adding call insights like Update.ai, which is free and an amazing tool, or Gong, which is expensive but also an amazing tool. That's like AI ML tracking your calls and pulling out tasks and to-do lists and insights and sentiment. What else would you add in? Task management tools, and depending on how you're leveraging Slack, there's a lot that, we integrate with a lot of these tools. So the idea is that you can leverage all the good stuff and pull it into one CSM, like all-in-one kind of thing, so they can start and end their day in a customer success platform like Catalyst. So that's sort of what we've built and what our vision is.
And that makes a lot of sense. And then I think the other side then is, of course, the bit that my company does, which is the training and the certification. And so what you also need is you need well-trained, experienced, and highly skilled individuals who are then going to perform the customer success management duties, which means they've got to understand your products, they've got to understand your customer and the industry and the challenges that your customers have. And they've got to understand customer success management best practice. In other words, the steps in each process, how to perform those steps, and how in a high quality but efficient and productive way, so that you're not you're able to turn a buck on all of this, but at the same time you're providing a high quality end result to the customer. And I think that's very important as well. And funnily enough, we expect everybody else to be trained and qualified, and yet somehow CS teams can get forgotten in that, and people get moved across, from other parts, be it sales or marketing or customer support very commonly, and put into a customer success role without really any proper sort of training or consolidation of their understanding. And I think that that's a great shame. So, that's our mission, as it were, is to help put a proper framework in place with proper process, proper understanding, and a way of measuring your levels of understanding within the team, and providing therefore a higher quality end result, both in terms of productivity and efficiency.
I completely agree. I think that it's critical for CSMs to be enabled. Sales teams get enablement all the time. They get sales training, they get sales certifications. CS arguably should be getting even more than sales, considering impact on valuation, but that's an argument for another time. So it's critical for that. The other two things I always recommend, mentorship and coaching, like finding people that are in the industry. We have something called the Catalyst Coaching Corner. It's free to sign up, and we pair people with mentors who are experienced CS leaders in the industry for free coaching. I've gotten so much value from my mentors over the last few years. And the third thing would be speaker training. You're going to be on calls. You're going to be presenting QBRs, EBRs to customers all the time. Get speaker training. There's an amazing company in Toronto called Speaker Labs. Eric and Eli, I can't recommend them highly enough. You need to go into your customer presentations, whether in person or virtual, and your internal presentations, being able to speak confidently, clearly, tell a compelling story. That's how you're going to be successful in this role. It's all about the story that you tell, backing it by data, but also just how you present it. So I always recommend speaker training for CS people as well.
Very important. In fact, I'd say there's a whole range of what I would describe as soft skills that are needed, and that's part of what, of course, we cover at Practical CSM. Okay,
Absolutely.
so listen, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. And on behalf of 111 also, I thank you very much for your time and really appreciate it. And I hope that what we've just been discussing gives some insight to some of 111's clients right now as to what customer success is, whether it's right for them, and whether they're at the right stage to be considering it. And if so, remember that 111 have put together a whole program of training that you can take advantage of. So thank you to 111, and thank you to yourself, Ben. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much indeed.
Always great chatting with you. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Take care now. Bye-bye.